The morning sun filtered through the large windows of the Sussex family home in Montecito, California. 7-year-old Archie Harrison sat at the kitchen table, carefully coloring a picture he had drawn the night before. His little tongue poked out slightly as he concentrated on staying within the lines of what appeared to be a crown surrounded by colorful flowers. "Mama, is this good enough for Grandpa King?" Archie asked, holding up his artwork with both hands. His eyes sparkled with the innocent excitement that only a child could possess when creating something special for someone they loved. Meghan Markle looked up from where she was preparing breakfast, her heart swelling with warmth at her son's thoughtful gesture. She walked over and knelt beside his chair, examining the drawing with the seriousness it deserved. "It's absolutely perfect, sweetheart. Grandpa Charles will treasure this." "But I want to make it even more special," Archie said, his brow furrowing with the concentration of someone much older. "Today is his birthday, and Daddy said we should always make birthdays extra special for people we love." From the living room came the sound of tiny footsteps and delighted giggles. 2-year-old Lilibet Diana, known affectionately as Lily, came toddling into the kitchen wearing her favorite pink dress with flowers embroidered on the collar. Her red curls bounced as she moved, and her eyes, so much like her father's, were bright with curiosity. "Archie! Archie," she called out in her sweet toddler voice, reaching up toward the table to see what her big brother was doing. "Pretty picture." Archie's face lit up as he carefully lifted his drawing to show his little sister. "It's for Grandpa King's birthday, Lily. Do you want to help me make it even more beautiful?" Prince Harry entered the kitchen just in time to witness this tender moment between his children. His heart felt full as he watched Archie patiently explain his artwork to Lilibet, who clapped her small hands together in delight. These were the moments that made everything worthwhile, seeing his children's capacity for love and thoughtfulness, even toward family members they had met so few times. "What are you two plotting over here?" Harry asked with a grin, ruffling Archie's hair as he approached the table. His son looked up at him with such earnestness that Harry felt a familiar tug in his chest, the complex mixture of love, pride, and sadness that often accompanied thoughts of his father and the distance between them. "We're making Grandpa Charles the best birthday surprise ever," Archie announced proudly. "But, Daddy, I don't remember what he looks like very well. Can you show me a picture so I can draw him better?" The question hit Harry harder than he expected. His children barely knew their grandfather, despite the fact that Charles adored them from afar. The geographical distance and the complicated family dynamics had created a barrier that Harry desperately wished didn't exist, especially on days like this. "Of course, buddy," Harry said softly, pulling out his phone. "Let me show you some photos of Grandpa." As Harry scrolled through his photos, he found several pictures from formal events and official portraits. But then, he came across one that made him pause, a candid shot from Archie's first meeting with Charles, when Archie was just a baby. In the photo, Charles was holding his grandson with such tenderness, his face lit up with pure joy and wonder. "Look here," Harry said, showing the phone to both children. "This is Grandpa Charles holding you when you were very little, Archie." Archie studied the photo intently, his small fingers tracing the outline of his grandfather's face on the screen. "He looks happy," he observed. "Does he still get happy when he thinks about us?" The innocent question nearly brought tears to Harry's eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. Grandpa Charles loves you and Lily very much. He thinks about you both every day." Lilibet, not wanting to be left out, pointed at the phone and said, "Grandpa," in her enthusiastic toddler voice. Though she had limited memories of meeting Charles, she had heard his name spoken with love in their home, and somehow she understood that he was someone important to her family. Meghan watched the scene unfold with a mixture of emotions. She could see how much Harry wanted his children to have a relationship with his father, and she knew how much Charles longed to be a part of their lives. The situation was complicated, filled with hurt feelings and misunderstandings, but, at moments like this, the love that connected this family across the ocean felt stronger than any obstacle. "You know what?" Meghan said, an idea forming in her mind. "Why don't we make this birthday surprise extra special? We could make a video message to go along with Archie's beautiful drawing." Both children's faces lit up at this suggestion. Archie bounced in his chair with excitement, while Lilibet clapped her hands and said, "Video? video, even though she wasn't entirely sure what that meant.
Can we sing to him too? Archie asked eagerly. At school, we always sing Happy Birthday to celebrate. I think Grandpa King would like that.
Harry felt his heart swell with love for his son's thoughtfulness. Despite the complex adult relationships and royal protocols that often made communication difficult, his children approached their grandfather with pure, uncomplicated love. They didn't see titles or positions, they simply saw family. "I think that's a wonderful idea," Harry said, his voice slightly thick with emotion.
Grandpa would love to hear you both sing to him. The family spent the next hour preparing their special birthday surprise.
Archie added more details to his drawing, carefully writing "Happy Birthday Grandpa Charles" in his best 7-year-old handwriting across the top. Meghan helped him spell some of the longer words, while Harry worked with Lilibet on practicing saying "Happy Birthday" clearly. As they prepared, Harry found himself thinking about his father. Charles had always been a devoted grandfather to William's children, and Harry knew that the distance from Archie and Lilibet caused his father genuine pain. Despite their differences, despite the hurt and misunderstandings, Harry recognized that his father's love for his grandchildren was pure and unwavering. "Daddy," Archie said suddenly, looking up from his drawing.
"Does Grandpa Charles know that we love him? Even though we live so far away?"
The question caught Harry off guard with its simple profundity. I hope he does, Archie. But maybe we should tell him today, just to make sure."
"Yes!" Archie exclaimed.
"We should tell him lots of times so he never forgets." Lilibet, picking up on her brother's enthusiasm, began repeating "Love Grandpa.
Love Grandpa," while toddling around the kitchen, making everyone laugh.
As the morning progressed, the Sussex family's simple kitchen became filled with an energy of love and purpose. They were creating something beautiful together, not just a birthday greeting, but a bridge across the distance that separated them from someone they cared about deeply. Meghan began setting up her phone to record their video message, while Harry helped the children practice what they wanted to say. The scene was domestic and peaceful, filled with the kind of ordinary family moments that become precious memories. "Remember," Harry told his children gently, "when we make this video, we're sending our love all the way across the ocean to England.
Grandpa Charles will watch it and feel like we're right there with him." Archie nodded solemnly, understanding the importance of their mission. "Will he be able to feel our hugs through the video?"
"I think he will," Meghan said softly, moved by her son's innocent wisdom.
Love has a way of traveling any distance. As they prepared to record their message, the Sussex family was united in their shared purpose. Despite the complications that existed in the adult world, despite the hurt feelings and difficult conversations that had created distance between family members, this moment was about something pure and simple: children wanting to show love to their grandfather on his birthday. The California sunshine streamed through the windows, illuminating this scene of family love and connection. In just a few hours, their simple but heartfelt message would travel thousands of miles, carrying with it the innocent joy and unconditional love of two children who saw their grandfather not as a king, but simply as family. Little did they know that this small gesture would begin to heal wounds that had seemed impossible to mend, proving that sometimes the simplest acts of love can bridge the greatest distances. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in London, King Charles III was beginning his 74th birthday in the quiet solitude of his study at Clarence House. The early morning light filtered through heavy curtains, casting long shadows across the room filled with books, family photographs, and personal mementos collected over decades of service. Charles sat at his mahogany desk, reviewing his schedule for the day. As always, his birthday would be filled with official duties, public appearances, and formal ceremonies. There would be greetings from dignitaries, carefully orchestrated photo opportunities, and the weight of royal protocol that governed every aspect of his life. But, in these quiet moments before the day officially began, he allowed himself to think about family. His eyes drifted to a framed photograph on his desk, one of the few personal items he kept in this formal space. It showed him holding baby Archie during one of their precious few meetings. In the photo, Charles's face was radiant with grandfather's pride, his usually formal expression softened by pure love. Beside it sat another photo, this one of Lilibet during her brief visit to England, her red curls catching the light as she played in the garden. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts.
Come in, Charles called, straightening slightly in his chair. His private secretary entered with the morning's correspondence.
Good morning, Your Majesty. Happy birthday.
The usual birthday greetings have begun arriving, along with your scheduled confirmations for today's events.
Thank you, James, Charles replied with a gentle smile. Any word from?
He paused, not wanting to seem too eager, but unable to hide the hope in his voice.
Any personal messages this morning?
James, who had worked with Charles for many years and understood the delicate family situation, checked through the communications.
Not yet, sir. But the day is still young. Charles nodded, trying not to let disappointment show on his face.
He had hoped that perhaps this birthday would be different, that maybe the distance between him and his son's family might be bridged, even if only for a day. The rift with Harry and Meghan had been one of the most painful aspects of his transition to the throne. While he tried to focus on his royal duties and responsibilities, the absence of his grandchildren from his life left a constant ache in his heart.
As James left to attend to other matters, Charles returned to the photograph of Archie.
He remembered that day so vividly, how the tiny baby had grasped his finger, how Harry had looked on with such pride and joy. Those had been simpler times, before the complications and misunderstandings that would eventually drive his family apart.
The morning progressed with its usual royal routine.
Charles received birthday greetings from prime ministers, foreign dignitaries, and heads of state. Each message was formal, respectful, and carefully crafted by teams of diplomatic staff. While he appreciated these gestures, they felt distant and ceremonial. What he truly longed for were the simple, heartfelt wishes that came from family, the kind of birthday greetings that came from love rather than duty. At around noon, as Charles was reviewing documents in preparation for an afternoon engagement, James returned to his study with an unusual expression on his face.
Your Majesty, you have a personal message that I think you'll want to see immediately.
James was holding a tablet, and there was something in his voice that made Charles look up with interest.
Oh?
Charles set down his papers and looked at his secretary expectantly.
It's from California, sir.
From your son and his family. James approached the desk with the tablet, his own emotion barely contained. In all his years of service, he had rarely seen anything that moved him as much as what he was about to show the king. Charles felt his heart skip a beat. With hands that trembled slightly, he took the tablet and looked at the screen. There was a video message waiting to be played, and the thumbnail image showed Archie and Lilibet sitting together, both smiling at the camera.
Shall I give you some privacy, sir? James asked gently.
Yes, please.
Thank you, James.
Charles's voice was barely above a whisper as he stared at the screen, almost afraid to press play for fear that he was dreaming. Once alone, Charles carefully touched the play button. Immediately, the screen came to life with the faces of his grandchildren. Archie was sitting up straight, clearly taking his role very seriously, while little Lilibet was in Harry's arms, her eyes bright and curious as she looked at the camera.
Hello, Grandpa Charles. Archie said in his clear, confident voice. It's me, Archie, your grandson. Today is your birthday, and we wanted to send you a very special message from California.
Charles felt tears spring to his eyes immediately. The child's voice was so earnest, so full of love and excitement. He could see Harry in Archie's features, but also something uniquely his own, a warmth and openness that reminded Charles of happier family times. We made you something special, Archie continued, holding up his drawing to the camera. The artwork filled the screen, and Charles could see every carefully colored detail, the crown, the flowers, the wobbly but determined lettering spelling out Happy Birthday Grandpa Charles. I drew this picture for you because Daddy told us you like flowers and beautiful things, Archie explained. The crown is because you're the king, but I also drew flowers because they're pretty and they smell nice, just like Mama's garden here. Charles had to pause the video for a moment to compose himself. The simple innocence of his grandson's explanation, the obvious care that had gone into the drawing, and the fact that Harry had been talking to the children about him, it was almost too much to process. When he resumed the video, he heard Lilibet's sweet toddler voice saying, "Grandpa. Grandpa," while pointing at the camera. Harry could be heard in the background gently prompting her, "Can you say happy birthday to Grandpa? Happy birthday, Grandpa." Lilibet managed, clapping her small hands together in delight at her accomplishment. "We wanted to sing to you too," Archie announced proudly. "Ready, Lily?" What followed was perhaps the most beautiful rendition of Happy Birthday that Charles had ever heard. Archie sang with careful pronunciation, clearly having practiced, while Lilibet chimed in with enthusiastic but not entirely accurate lyrics. Behind them, Charles could hear Harry and Meghan's voices joining in, creating a family chorus that reached across the ocean directly to his heart. When the song ended, Archie looked directly into the camera with an expression of such sincerity that it took Charles's breath away. "Grandpa Charles, we want you to know that we love you very much. Daddy tells us stories about you, and Mama says you're a very kind man who cares about people. We wish we could give you hugs in person, but we're sending you hugs through this video." Both children then blew kisses at the camera, and Lilibet waved with both her tiny hands. "We hope your birthday is filled with joy and happiness," Archie continued, clearly reciting words he had practiced but which came from his heart. "We think about you all the time, and we can't wait to see you again someday soon." The video ended with all four family members waving goodbye, and Charles found himself staring at the blank screen through tears he no longer tried to hide. In that moment, all the formal birthday greetings from world leaders and dignitaries paled in comparison to this simple, heartfelt message from his grandchildren. He played the video again immediately, wanting to capture every detail, every expression, every word. On the second viewing, he noticed things he had missed the first time: how carefully Archie had prepared his words, how Lilibet's eyes lit up when she successfully said happy birthday, how Harry and Meghan had worked together to make this moment possible for their children. Charles realized that this wasn't just a birthday greeting, it was a bridge. Despite all the complicated adult emotions, the hurt feelings, and the difficult conversations that had created distance between them, Harry and Meghan had made sure their children knew and loved their grandfather. They had chosen love over resentment, family connection over pride. Wiping his eyes, Charles reached for his personal phone. He scrolled through his contacts until he found Harry's number. His finger hovered over the call button for several long minutes as he tried to find the right words. How do you thank someone for giving you such an unexpected gift? How do you express gratitude for something that touches your soul so deeply? Instead of calling, Charles decided to type a message. He wanted to be careful with his words, to make sure Harry understood how much this gesture meant to him. "Harry," he typed slowly, "I have just watched the most beautiful birthday message I have ever received. Please tell Archie and Lilibet that their grandfather loves them more than words can express. Their joy and love have made this the most meaningful birthday of my life. Thank you for raising such wonderful, loving children. With all my love, Papa." He read the message 3 times before sending it, wanting to make sure every word conveyed what he felt in his heart. When he finally pressed send, Charles felt something he hadn't experienced in years, a sense of hope that maybe, just maybe, the love between family members could overcome any obstacle. The rest of his birthday schedule would proceed as planned, but now Charles carried with him something precious: the sound of his grandchildren's voices, the image of their bright faces, and the knowledge that despite the distance and difficulties, he was loved and remembered by the 2 little people who mattered most to him. Back in Montecito, the Sussex family had just finished sending their birthday message when Harry's phone chimed with an incoming text. The children were playing in the living room, their mission accomplished and their hearts full from creating something special for their grandfather. Harry glanced at his phone and felt his breath catch. The message was from his father, and as he read the words, his eyes began to blur with unshed tears. He had hoped the video would bring his father joy, but the depth of emotion in Charles's response was more than he had expected. "Meghan," Harry called softly, his voice thick with emotion. "Come look at this." Meghan approached, immediately sensing the shift in her husband's mood. When she read Charles's message, her own eyes filled with tears. Despite all the complications in their relationship with the royal family, she had never doubted Charles's love for his grandchildren. "He's so grateful," she whispered, reading the message again. "Harry, look how much this meant to him." From the living room came the sound of Archie calling out, "Mama! Daddy! Did Grandpa King get our message yet?" Harry wiped his eyes quickly and walked into the living room where both children were waiting expectantly. Archie was sitting cross-legged on the carpet, his drawing supplies still scattered around him, while Lilibet was playing with her toy blocks nearby.
"Yes, buddy," Harry said, kneeling down to Archie's level.
"Grandpa Charles got our message, and he loved it so much that he sent us a message back."
Archie's face lit up with pure joy. "Really? What did he say? Did he like my drawing?" Harry looked at his phone and began to read, editing slightly for the children's understanding.
"He said that he got the most beautiful birthday message he has ever received, and he wants you and Lily to know that your grandfather loves you more than words can express."
"He really loved our singing too?" Archie asked, bouncing slightly with excitement.
"Especially your singing," Harry confirmed, his heart full as he watched his son's happiness. "He said your joy and love made this the most meaningful birthday of his life." Lilibet, hearing the excitement in the conversation, toddled over and climbed into Harry's lap.
"Grandpa happy?" she asked in her sweet toddler voice.
"Yes, sweetheart," Harry said, kissing the top of her red curls. "Grandpa is very happy because of you and Archie." Megan sat down on the floor with them, creating a family circle in their living room. "You know what this means," she said to the children.
"It means that love really can travel anywhere.
Even though Grandpa Charles is very far away, your love reached him and made him feel wonderful on his birthday."
Archie considered this seriously. "So love is like magic? It can go anywhere?"
"Love is exactly like magic," Harry agreed.
"It's the most powerful magic there is." As the afternoon progressed, the Sussex family found themselves in a reflective mood.
The simple act of creating a birthday message had opened something in all of them, a reminder of the importance of family connections, of reaching out even when things are complicated, of choosing love over pride. Harry found himself thinking about his childhood memories with his father. Despite the formal protocols and royal duties that often got in the way, there had been moments of genuine warmth and connection. He remembered Charles teaching him about gardening, sharing stories about conservation, and the pride in his father's eyes during important milestones.
"You know what?" Harry said suddenly, an idea forming. "Maybe we could do something like this more often.
Not just on birthdays, but regularly."
Megan looked at him with interest. "What do you mean?"
"Well, Archie is learning to read and write better every day. Maybe he could write letters to Grandpa Charles. And we could send videos of Lily as she grows and learns new things.
Simple family updates, nothing formal or complicated."
Archie's eyes grew wide with excitement.
"I could write real letters? With my own handwriting?" "Absolutely," Harry said. "You could tell Grandpa about school, about your friends, about the books you're reading. He would love to hear about your life."
"And I could draw more pictures," Archie added enthusiastically. "I could draw our house, and our garden, and maybe even our dog when we get one." The mention of a possible dog sent both children into excited chatter, but Harry and Meghan exchanged meaningful looks over their heads. They both understood that this wasn't just about letters and drawings, it was about maintaining connection, about ensuring that their children knew their grandfather and that Charles could be a part of their lives, even from a distance. Later that evening, after the children had been tucked into bed, Harry and Meghan sat on their back patio, looking out at the California landscape bathed in moonlight. The day had been emotional for both of them, bringing up feelings about family, distance, and the choices they had made.
"Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Harry asked quietly. "Encouraging this connection, I mean. Things with the family are still complicated."
Meghan was quiet for a moment, considering her words carefully.
"I think what we saw today was pure love between a grandfather and his grandchildren.
Whatever issues exist between the adults, the children deserve to know their family. And Charles deserves to know them." "He was so grateful," Harry said, looking at his father's message again. "I haven't heard emotion like that from him in years."
"Maybe this is how healing starts," Meghan suggested gently.
"Not with big gestures or formal meetings, but with simple acts of love. Children have a way of cutting through all the complicated adult stuff and getting right to what matters."
Harry nodded, feeling the truth of her words.
Their children's innocent approach to loving their grandfather had reminded him of something important: family connections didn't have to be complicated. Love could be simple, pure, and unconditional, even when the adults involved had hurt feelings and unresolved issues. That night, as Harry checked on his sleeping children, he found Archie clutching his drawing materials even in sleep, as if already planning his next artistic creation for his grandfather. Lilibet was curled up with her favorite stuffed animal, her red curls spread across her pillow like small flames. Looking at them, Harry made a silent promise. He would find ways to nurture the connection between his children and their grandfather. He would set aside his own hurt feelings when necessary to ensure that love could flourish. He would remember that being a father meant thinking beyond his own pain to consider what was best for his children. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Charles was going to sleep with his phone nearby, having watched the birthday video from his grandchildren several more times throughout the day. In his bedside drawer, he had placed a printed screenshot from the video, one showing both children smiling at the camera, next to the other precious photos he kept close. For the first time in months, Charles felt genuinely hopeful about the future of his relationship with Harry's family. The birthday message had shown him that despite the distance and difficulties, his son and daughter-in-law were raising his grandchildren to know and love him. That knowledge filled him with a peace he hadn't felt in years. As both households settled into sleep on opposite sides of the world, they were connected by something stronger than any geographical distance, the love between family members who had chosen connection over conflict, hope over hurt, and bridges over barriers. The birthday message had been just the beginning. Neither Harry nor Charles knew it yet, but the simple gesture from two loving children would set in motion a series of connections that would slowly but surely begin to heal the wounds that had seemed impossible to mend. Sometimes the smallest acts of love create the biggest changes, and sometimes children can teach adults the most important lessons about what really matters. In the California moonlight and the London dawn, two parts of one family went to sleep feeling more connected than they had in years, all because of the pure and simple love of two children who saw their grandfather not as a king, but as family who deserved birthday wishes and homemade drawings and songs sung with all the love their young hearts could hold. 3 weeks after the birthday message, something beautiful began to unfold. Charles, inspired by his grandchildren's gesture, started a correspondence that would change everything. His first letter arrived at the Sussex home on a quiet Tuesday morning, delivered by special courier in an envelope bearing the royal seal. Archie was having breakfast when Meghan brought the letter to the table, her eyes wide with surprise. "Archie, sweetheart, you have mail. A very special letter from London." "From Grandpa King?" Archie asked, nearly choking on his cereal in excitement. He had never received a real letter before, especially not one that looked so official and important. "From your grandfather," Harry confirmed, sitting down beside his son. The envelope felt substantial in his hands, and he could see his father's careful handwriting addressing it specifically to Master Archie Mountbatten Windsor. Together, they carefully opened the envelope. Inside was beautiful stationery with the royal letterhead, but the words written on it were entirely personal and warm. Harry began to read aloud, "My dearest Archie, your birthday video brought me such joy that I had to write to thank you properly. Your beautiful drawing is now framed and sitting on my desk where I can see it every day. When important people come to visit me, I show them your artwork and tell them all about my talented grandson in California." Archie's eyes grew round with wonder. "He shows my drawing to important people? Really?" Harry continued reading. "I wanted you to know that I think about you and little Lilibet every single day. I have photos of you both in my study, and sometimes I talk to them and tell you about my day, even though you're not there to hear me. I hope that doesn't sound too silly." "It's not silly at all," Archie said seriously. "I talk to your picture too, Grandpa." The letter continued with Charles sharing details about his daily life that would interest a 7-year-old. He wrote about the gardens at his various homes, describing the flowers and vegetables he grew. He mentioned the animals he encountered, the deer in the Scottish Highlands, the sheep on his organic farm, and even the chickens that provided eggs for his breakfast. "I have enclosed some seeds from my garden," Harry read. "Perhaps you and your family would like to plant them in your California soil. I think it would be wonderful to know that flowers from my garden are growing in yours, connecting us across the ocean." At the bottom of the letter was a separate paragraph specifically for Lilibet. "Please give your little sister a special hug from her grandfather and tell her that I loved hearing her sweet voice singing happy birthday to me. I hope she will keep practicing her words, and, perhaps next time we talk, she can tell me about all the new things she's learning. The letter was signed simply, "With all my love, Grandpa Charles," and included a postscript, "P.S. I hope you will write back and tell me about your school, your friends, and all the adventures you have in California." Archie was practically vibrating with excitement by the time Harry finished reading.
Can we write back right now? I have so many things to tell him. That afternoon became a family project.
Archie carefully composed his first letter to his grandfather, with Meghan helping him with spelling and Harry offering suggestions about what to include. The 7-year-old's enthusiasm was infectious as he wrote about his school, his favorite books, his friends, and his hopes to visit England someday. "Dear Grandpa Charles," he dictated while Meghan helped him write.
"Thank you for your letter.
It made me feel very special and important. Mama says you are busy being the king, but you still took time to write to me.
That makes me happy."
He went on to describe his daily life in California, the beach visits, his swimming lessons, the books he was learning to read, and his favorite subjects in school. He asked questions about England, about being a king, and about what Charles liked to do when he wasn't working. But perhaps the most touching part of the letter came near the end. "Daddy told me that sometimes grown-ups have disagreements, but he also told me that love is stronger than any disagreement. I love you, Grandpa Charles, and I hope you know that even when we can't see each other, I'm still your grandson and you're still my grandfather." Lilibet contributed to the letter in her own way, with Meghan helping her make handprints in washable paint and, then, stamping them on the paper. Above the tiny handprints, they wrote "Hugs from Lily" in colorful letters. The letter was accompanied by Archie's latest artwork, a drawing of their California home, complete with palm trees, the ocean in the distance, and stick figures representing their family. At the bottom, he had drawn what he imagined England looked like, with a castle and a crown floating above it. When the letter was finished and ready to be mailed, Harry felt a complex mix of emotions. He was proud of his son's thoughtfulness and communication skills, but he was also moved by the way this correspondence was building a bridge between his children and his father. Despite all the adult complications, something pure and beautiful was growing.
The exchange of letters continued over the following weeks.
Charles's responses came regularly, always thoughtful and engaging. He answered Archie's questions about royal duties with age-appropriate explanations, shared stories about historical figures who had lived in his palaces, and described the changing seasons in England with such vivid detail that Archie felt he could almost see them. In one letter, Charles included pressed flowers from his garden, carefully preserved between sheets of special paper. "These roses bloomed just this morning," he wrote. "I picked them while thinking of you and thought you might like to see what English flowers look like." Archie treasured these flowers, showing them to everyone who visited and explaining proudly that they came from his grandfather's own garden. He even brought them to school for show and tell, telling his classmates about his grandfather the king who lived across the ocean and sent him letters with real flowers inside. The correspondence began to include video messages as well. Charles, with help from his staff, learned to record short videos on his phone. These clips showed him in his gardens, pointing out different plants and explaining how they grew. He recorded himself reading children's stories, his voice warm and grandfatherly as he held up the picture book so Archie and Lilibet could see the illustrations.
In return, Harry and Meghan sent videos of the children's daily activities.
Archie performing in his school play, Lilibet taking her first steps on the beach, family movie nights, and cooking adventures in their kitchen. These glimpses into their everyday life meant more to Charles than any official state function. The most significant change wasn't just in the relationship between grandfather and grandchildren, it was in how this connection was affecting the entire family dynamic. Harry found himself sharing more about his own life in England, helping Archie understand the world his grandfather inhabited. Meghan discovered that talking about Charles in positive terms with the children helped her process some of her own complicated feelings about their family situation. "You know," Meghan said one evening as they prepared another package to send to Charles, "this correspondence is healing more than just their relationship."
Harry nodded, understanding exactly what she meant.
"The children are reminding us all of what's really important. Love, family, connection, it's all so simple when you see it through their eyes." One particularly meaningful letter from Charles included an invitation that took the entire family by surprise. My dearest Archie and Lilibet, it read, I would love more than anything to see you both in person.
Would your parents consider bringing you to England for a visit?
I promise it would be completely private, just family time together. I have so many things I want to show you, my gardens, my paintings, and maybe even some baby lambs that have just been born on the farm.
The invitation sparked long conversations between Harry and Meghan.
The idea of returning to England, even for a private family visit, brought up many emotions and considerations. But, when they watched Archie carefully writing his response to his grandfather, expressing his excitement about meeting him in person and seeing the baby lambs, they realized that their children's happiness and family connections were more important than any adult complications.
I think we should seriously consider it, Meghan said finally.
Not for any official reasons, not to make statements or fix public relations.
Just for our children to meet their grandfather.
Harry looked at the growing collection of letters and drawings that now decorated their kitchen wall, a visual reminder of the love that had been building across the ocean.
You're right, he said. This is about family. Everything else can wait.
As spring turned to summer in both California and England, the correspondence between grandfather and grandchildren had created something unexpected and beautiful. Two little children had accomplished what diplomats, family meetings, and public statements had failed to achieve. They had built a bridge of love that was strong enough to span any distance and overcome any obstacle. Charles would later say that receiving that first birthday video was the moment his life changed. It reminded him that being a grandfather was one of his most important roles, more meaningful than any royal title. For Harry and Meghan, watching their children develop a relationship with their grandfather helped them remember that family love could coexist with differences of opinion, that connection didn't require perfection. And, for Archie and Lilibet, the regular letters and videos from their grandpa Charles became a natural part of their lives. They learned that love could travel across oceans, that family was more than just the people who lived in your house, and that sometimes the most important relationships require effort and intention to maintain. The story that began with a simple birthday wish had grown into something much larger, a testament to the power of children's love to heal adult wounds, to the possibility of building bridges instead of walls, and to the truth that family connections, nurtured with care and intention, can overcome any obstacle. In both California and London, bedtime stories now included tales of faraway family members who sent letters full of love, proving that the most powerful magic in the world is the love between people who choose to stay connected, no matter how far apart they may be.